We're back. We're in the home stretch. I'm not really sure how much I've been looking forward to watching these last 2 episodes compared with the first couple. I'll be honest that for me, these last 2 are more like, alright, let's just get these out of the way. Let's just wrap it up here. But I'm committed now. There's no getting off of this hype train that we're on. Season 1, Episode 8 of Amazon Prime's Wheel of Time TV show, which is called The Eye of the World. Okay, yes. Cold open, Age of Legends. Not the one I maybe was expecting or have been hoping for. You can't stop me. Speaking the old tongue. So I like that we went so far as to create an old tongue for them to speak. If you do this, there's only your pride. You expose the very source of the one power. If he touches and corrupts it, which, I mean, that's not a thing that they even, I think, knew or expected could happen. But we know that it is what happened. And that is also true, what Luz Theron just said. I think maybe if the female Aes Sedai had gone with them, because there's one thing we can learn from the Wheel of Time, it's that we need everyone working together. The one power needs to be whole and everyone's stronger if they're working with it together. And that's why it was such a crippling blow having Saidin corrupted. Because now, yeah, you're only able to use 1/2 of the power of the Creator. Come seat, Watcher of the Flame. So it is possible that had she chosen to go with his plan and they all went together to try to seal up the prison, that maybe it would have worked if they'd been able to use Saidar along with Saidin. But sadly, he went with only his 100 companions, 100 male channelers, to try to do it themselves. And in their, if not pride, at least desperation, did expose the male half of the power to the Dark One, and sadly, I think it was the blowback of the sealing, so they were able to create the seals on the prison and seal it up, albeit temporarily. The blowback and the side effect of that was the entire male half of the one power being corrupted. And so all of Luz Theron and the 100 companions pretty much went crazy immediately. And then for other male channelers, it was more prolonged. And so that's why the breaking of the world lasted as long as it did. Because you basically had the equivalent of a nuclear bomb, depending on, how strong the channeler was. But they're basically just bombs waiting to go off at any given moment, and literally broke the world. So that was not the cold opening that I've been hoping to see, which is the very first prologue of Eye of the World, where it's revealed to Luz Theron Telamon that he has in fact gone crazy and killed everyone around him. He basically decides to unalive himself at that point and channels so much of the one power to obliterate himself from reality that he creates the volcano that is now Dragon Mount next to Tarvalin. So there's founded their city next to the gravesite of the last dragon reborn. Super casual.
What happened to him?
Boys from the borderlands sometimes like to test themselves against the Blight. And they usually come up wanting. Don't touch him. Don't touch anything here. The Blight is a rot, which spreads from the Dark One's prison and consumes everything in its path, including young men in way over their heads.
You know we can't go. We have no idea where they are.
Yeah,
they're
here
going.
we see Egwene's feelings for Rand are still going strong at this
We'll
point.
die in the Blight.
Perhaps in spite of everything.
I love him, Perrin.
So do I.
All I can really say about Perrin is I can't wait for him to get his kind of
Always
like,
be all right.
I don't know, redemption arc, story, plotline wise, season 3. Leave this all behind.
What are those?
The 7 Towers of Malkier.
Malkier.
Hmm.
That's where Lancelot was born.
Here.
It looks like it's been that way 1,000 years.
40 at most. 3 years ago, it was miles from Tobin's Gap. It's just another sign that the Dark One's strength is building.
And I got a quick little glimpse there at Lan's lost homeland. So we have touched on it a little bit here
Was it
in
hard?
season 1, his
What?
backstory.
To leave him behind.
And how Aziz, the prince who was promised, kind of as I said, at least to his people.
Have some of that. You need to keep up your strength.
But maybe we'll see even a little bit more of that.
All right.
I hope. Also in season 3, because yeah, we've touched
Can you
on
feel
it a
anything
little
through the
bit
bond?
here.
She doesn't want to be followed.
But we haven't really alluded a whole lot
Not what she's
into what
facing
that
After the
has
job
done
exactly
to
2 weeks,
Lan's
when I followed
mentality growing up with that,
Wasn't
you
you
know,
who
that
I
weight on his shoulders.
It was her. She has a teller. I can show you how.
And how, you know, it kind of
Let me go without you.
did lead him to have
You
this
bring him
death
back.
wish for a long time of,
You are a remarkable woman.
if I can't ever have a
Wisdom
hope
never
of really
waits.
reclaiming my kingdom and revitalizing my
time alone,
people
maybe I'll be
because
something
they're
other
all
than a wisdom.
lost, scattered, decimated, and his kingdom's consumed by the Blight, then at the very least he can dedicate his life to fighting against the shadow come hell or high water, and even if it means he won't live a very long life. That's kind of how he had seen it up until
That's beautiful.
meeting Moraine, and I think maybe realizing that
That's fierce.
maybe it also meant there's a spark of hope, because if Moraine's mission is to find the Dragon Reborn and defeat the Dark One, then Lan can maybe hopefully fulfill that objective of striking against the Dark One and avenging Malkier in the
What?
process. So I think
What did you
that's
dream?
maybe why he was willing
Dreams
to
have
go
great
along with
meaning,
Moraine and
especially
become
here,
her
so close
warrior
to his
and
touch.
dedicate
the Dark
himself to her
He
mission.
knows where we are. He's coming.
Oh, okay, yeah, I was not expecting that. Still surprised me, no matter how many times I've seen this. I was not... Still didn't see that coming.
I wouldn't have expected it would be you.
Face to face for Alvamond. Love that even though he thinks this is the literal Dark One, he's still willing to give him what for with his little bow and arrow. But yeah, dude, didn't even flinch. And here's our first look at Ishi.
There. That's better. Hard to have a real conversation otherwise.
But it's kind of alluded to
You're
even by
nothing
the other
like him.
Forsaken that
But still, you're him.
Ishamael was the closest
I see
to
it
the
behind your
seal
eyes.
when the Forsaken were trapped. So he was kind of only
So
partially
what's your
sealed
plan,
away
Bruce Theron? You have one, right?
and
this is
still
a
able
dream.
to
Does it
meddle
matter?
with things.
Whether you're asleep or awake,
But
either
that
way, here we are.
he was
finally
also
having
more
a
aware of
conversation
this
once
long
again.
passage of
Sit
time
down.
since
It's
then,
pathetic,
and that
you know,
out
coming
of a
from
lot
me
of the
with
other
a single Aes
Forsaken,
Sedai
it
at your side.
left
The
him
last
maybe a
time
little
you
bit
came with
mad and
99
insane
companions,
as a
far
result.
stronger than her, and still you failed.
He's just
Have
talking
you
mad
even
shit at Rand
touched
right
the power
now.
before? Do you have any idea what you're doing?
Yeah, have you even touched the power before? Bro, do you even Sidene?
A Heron Mark blade? Where did you get that?
Again, excellent casting
From
here.
my father.
Poor
Your
Shamayan.
father's been dead a long time, boy. Oh, you mean that shepherd in the Two Rivers? What's his name again?
Yeah.
Tam.
You know
Tam
him.
Alfor, right?
Everything about you already, which is kind of scary.
Well, you really do
Like,
think
you
he's
can't
your
hide
father.
anything from him. He knows.
That's...
He knows where you live. He
That's
knows where you
sweet.
sleep.
Who would have thought the dragon reborn would be a fool? Every turning has its little surprises, I suppose.
This is a dream.
Stubborn as ever,
Well, I know
Luz.
that's also that Two Rivers pride in him.
Put down the sword.
He doesn't actually have Two
Let me tell
Rivers
you what
blood
those
in
women
him. He was
never
raised
would
by
about
Two
what it
Rivers
means to
folk.
be the dragon.
This is a dream.
That's definitely a risk. I'm gonna make a whole video on Teleron Riyadh here soon, but if you, unless you're like acutely aware that it's a dream and lucid dreaming,
What did you
if
dream?
you die in the Matrix, you die in real
Dreams
life.
have great
So
meaning, especially
that was a
being so
gamble.
close to his touch.
It was the Dark One.
What did he say to you?
I don't believe a word he said. When we get there, what's our plan?
What did he say to you in the dream?
No, this is about you. You always have a plan, within a plan, within a plan. Don't try to convince me that for this you've got nothing.
Yeah, maybe she's not really talking a whole lot because she does have nothing. She doesn't want them to know it.
It was made before the breaking of the world, created from the One Power itself. Thousands of male channelers put the entirety of their strength into this one small object. And when you channel into it,
Okay,
increase
now,
your
if
power
we're talking book accuracy, that description is the description of what the actual Eye of the World is. It was basically a pool of untainted Sidene that male channelers could tap into and use.
And what do
That
I
was
do
the
with
Eye
that
of the
girl?
world.
you
And it was
put him
kind
back
of
where
like
he
a
belongs,
one-time
where
use
Dutch
thing, which
guns
is why we
usually
never
have
hear
been
about it
less
again
than
after
1,000 years.
book one.
Just that.
So yeah, here they've changed the Eye of the World to mean something different.
You thought it would be Egwene.
And I think also thereby
Didn't you?
changed up the way the seals are going to work. In the novels,
taught
they
her
were
to
just
channel.
literal seals made of an unbreakable material
Introduced her to
that
Yemens.
sealed up the hole
thought it
into
was
the
her.
Dark One's prison. And now they are slowly crumbling and falling apart, and he's
So did I.
slowly being freed. Because it was just kind of like a temporary patch, what Luce Theron and his companions did. And here in the show, we've made them also seals
What do
on
you
the
hear?
separate Forsaken.
Nothing.
So perhaps they're, killing two birds with
Since
one
the day I
stone
turned
there.
back.
And each seal on a Forsaken
Do
is
you
also
hear
a
anything?
seal on the Dark One. Looking out over Tarwin's Gap here, which is literally what it sounds like in this show here. Just a gap in the
What is it?
mountains
Same thing we had on Beltane.
and a little like
Something
bottleneck
wrong.
funnel for the Dark One's forces to come
That
through
was a whisper.
into Greater
This is a scream.
Randland.
Will you teach me how to channel?
I can't. Every time you touch the source, it'll take you closer and closer to the madness.
Do you think I care what happens to me after today?
When you face him, the fear, the adrenaline, you'll embrace the One Power whether you want to or not.
What if I don't?
You will.
How can you be so sure?
There was an Aes Sedai at the White Tower when I was a novice. She was everything that I wanted to be. She was strong, controlled, precise.
I
She
wonder
was
what she's
terrifying.
talking about here, and I
And
wonder
she
if
took a
it's
liking to me. She
Elida,
said she wanted to
who we
help
know we're
make
also
me
going to see in
everything that
season
she thought
3.
I could be. And I was having
Because we know
I
she
was having
did
trouble channeling.
train Swan and
She
Moraine as
came to
novices.
my room at night, alone, and she'd beat me with the one power. Lashes of air and fire. And she wouldn't stop. Until the pain and the fear was so overwhelming that I grabbed the power myself and I stopped her. Without even thinking about it, without even trying.
Unfortunately,
I promise you, when your life's on the line,
not
the
only
power will be
can
there.
a woman not teach a man
And
to
when it comes to
channel
you, you channel it
because
into the sound.
A, they can't see each other's weaves, B, they're afraid he's gonna go crazy the more he does it, but also C, the one power works very differently for men
Reggie,
versus women.
you're gonna wanna move.
Women, it's described as like just a surrender. You just like let it go and
We need
open
some
yourself
answers.
like a flower opening to the
Fancy a drink
sun.
first?
And then the power just
You're the one in the
fills you
bar.
like a cup, and
What did
it's
you tell
just
Marine
sweet
about Rand?
and blissful,
People's
and all you do
secrets
is just
are their business.
let
No
it
one
go,
else.
let
Can't you
it
at least tell
flow.
us if he's going to
Whereas Rand
how it works,
describes
I'm afraid.
Saidin as like a
All I
constant
know is that everything
struggle,
I've ever seen,
and like you have to
the
like
best things and the worst.
take it by the reins, and it's like riding
true
a
eventually.
bucking bronco, and you have to constantly be resting to maintain your grip and your control on it. So yeah, even if she could describe to him what channeling for her is like, that's just, it's comparing apples to oranges, and her techniques are not at all going to apply to Saidin.
What is that?
Well, he knows we're coming.
Bloody Gwaine. The parent I
The
need,
only
then
way
it's...
to stop that army is to stop the Dark One himself.
And even then, I don't know. Although I think it is said that that some Trollocs are like tied directly to the Myrddraal or Fade that's commanding them. So if you manage to kill the Myrddraals that are leading them, it will also kill the Trollocs.
I told you the numbers were building.
Love the costume designs for
Our men
the
in the fortress have spotted at
Shinarans.
least 60 fades amongst them, so there must be
Very
at least 5
book
to 10,000.
accurate to the
There are still more
cultures
Taurus
that
pouring out
they're
of light and
inspired
gathering in
by.
Laughing Gap.
I'd bloody skin them myself and burn their goat piss and hides.
See
Are they
Lord
coming for this
Agilmar
thing?
there wearing like the Hakama
Not yet.
pants
But 2 ropes are cut
of
off.
samurai, like feudal era Japan.
There are dark friends inside our walls.
And like I've said before, that is like pretty accurate, I would say, to the age of like the Third Age Randland,
Personal guard and move to the
comparatively
fortress.
to like the costumes and culture that it's pulling from. As far as like clothing goes, because it's not like medieval fantasy, like Lord of the Rings. I would say the Middle Ages would have been like the Trolloc Wars, Archer Hawkwing age. This is more like verging on like the Renaissance era, like 1600s, 16 to 1700s. Because we have things like printing presses,
This is it,
books,
isn't it?
and then in the novels we see like steam engines
I know this
and
place.
gunpowder being used to create weapons for the first time, like cannons and things like that.
You said that whoever goes with the dragon to the Eye of the World will die there. Does that include you?
Well, now you care, Rand? Now you care about Moraine?
Stay.
No, but this is her mission, man. This is literally her life's purpose. She's gonna see it through to the end. And she dedicated the last 20 years of her life to. Oh, he sees it. Poor Lan. Forgot he went in after her. That had to sting. Had to be a little
Do you
bittersweet.
remember the first time Father let us help him with his armor?
1,000 Trollocs in the gap. Seemed like there was no chance he would stop them.
That armor kept him safe through hundreds of battles. And his father through hundreds more. And his father.
I need my armor today, not theirs.
You should stay in the city. The gap cannot hold against that force. It simply cannot.
The men will hold the gap. And if we cannot, the women will hold the city. It is what our family has done for 1,000 years.
What we face today is 5 times the size of what's come before.
So yeah, probably have not
cannot-
seen forces like this since the Trolloc Wars.
You're right, sister. You were right all along. We should have asked the White Tower for aid long ago. Today, Tywin's gap will fall. And then this city will fall after, no matter what we do. And then his armies will pour through the gap and raise every city we know the name of, and more we don't.
And this isn't even the actual last battle.
The whole world will burn. The Dark One is waking. Tarman Gaiden is here. The last battle.
This isn't even the last battle. I think this is bad.
But it is not ours to win. You and I. We will slow his forces as much as we can, while our messengers fly in every direction with the light speed at their heels. Let us hope we buy the women and men of this world enough time to stand a fighting chance.
I will not let our city fall.
And that is one thing I will give them credit for in these episodes, is I do love the depictions that we're getting of Shienarans and their history and their culture there.
What was this place?
We have no idea. Every record of its existence was purged from the White Tower's libraries by Dark Friends.
You see the seal there.
You said you remember this place.
Is accurate to what they are in the books, where, like I said, they're much smaller, but it is the yin-yang symbol of the Aes Sedai from the Age of Legends.
Or a dream. Every time I grab onto something, it just slips away.
Seeing glimpses of himself there.
I fought someone here.
Shamael? Yeah. So yeah, he's
The Dark
mistaking
One?
him for the Dark One, which,
But it looked like a man.
as the Al-Zaman, he was presenting himself as
It was here.
the Dark One, so
In
you
the
can't
center.
blame a guy for getting them mixed
It
up.
was a symbol.
'Cause, yeah.
This symbol. The eye.
So yeah, not really where you face down Dark One, just where you face down Shamael. And now we get into a very interesting scene, and kind of a controversial one for me as a book reader. And I'll get to why here in a minute, once we see a little bit more.
Be quiet.
Because,
Finished already.
this is a long series, you guys, okay? Like, this was a lot of time reading, waiting for the next books to come out, building up to the final battle where Rand's gonna face the Dark One and try to save the whole world. Will he be able to actually defeat the Dark One and take him out of the picture entirely? Because, you know, that's kind of what they've been building toward with prophecy, and Armageddon is nigh.
Rand, Rand.
What did you think would happen?
Very interesting scene here, where if you see closely there, he put the web on her like we saw the Aes Sedai do with Logain in the earlier episode. And now we saw him tie it off. So going forward into season 2, there was a lot of is she or isn't she, because Moraine believes she's been completely stilled and cut off from the One Power entirely, like Logain has.
Your fingertips. But you can't quite touch it.
But actually, he just used Saidin to shield her, and there's a technique that they know from the Age of Legends that current Aes Sedai have forgotten, where you can, instead of the channelers having to constantly be there channeling and maintaining the shield on someone like they had to with Logain, you can simply kind of tie your weave off in a little knot, and it'll stay in place. And then there's another technique that has been lost, where you can invert your weaves, where you kind of like turn them inside out and hide them. So he's shielded her, he's tied it off so that he doesn't have to be constantly there maintaining it, and possibly also inverted the weaves. But I don't think so, because Rand's able to immediately see what's been done to her later in season 2. But even Shamael hinted there that like, oh, it must suck to like feel the One Power right there, but it's just out of reach, which is a further hint that she's only been shielded and not stilled, because if you had been cut off completely, you would not be able to even feel anything. Whereas he hinted that she can still feel Sidar, she just can't touch it because she's currently been blocked and shielded from it. But since women can't sense men's weaves and vice versa, she has no way of knowing or sensing what he's done to her. Which is also a new addition, something that did not happen in the novels, but none of this happened in the novels. This is a completely different ending that they had created for the show than what we got in the Eye of the World itself, where it was basically just this final showdown at the Pool of Saidin between Rand and Ishamael, and then there were 2 more Forsaken, Agenor and Balthamel, who were not seen in the show. They were just cut out because they were like very minor Forsaken, and they were easily taken out by like Nynaeve and Egwene and like some of the others, while Rand's off fighting Ishii. And so like Rand taps into the Eye of the World, uses that little pool of Saidin that's not tainted to kind of fight off Ishii, and then that's it. The Eye of the World's been used up, it's been drained, it's a one and done deal. You never hear about it again. And then like the rest of the novels goes on to the greater story and like branches off, and it's like very much of a wider scope and very different from the first one. So I don't blame them for kind of like changing things. They also had to change a lot of things because Matt's not here and he's supposed to be, I believe it was like Rand who showed up and channeled to just decimate this and obliterate this army of Trollocs. And sadly, this episode was also filmed after like the pandemic restrictions had been lifted, but were still kind of in place as far as filming and like procedures that had to be followed to, you know, keep people safe. The show just couldn't do as much or be as like big or grandiose as maybe they wanted or needed to be for a season finale. Like here we see there's only a couple people standing out here because you could only have so many people together because of COVID. So there was just a lot sadly working against the show for these last 2 episodes, what with the sudden changes in how things had to be filmed and sudden changes in how things had to be written due to both that and the departure of Matt's actor, Heron wrestling with his newfound love of pacifism. But yeah, that doesn't always work when you're literally stuck in the last battle. You don't really have the option of sitting this one out.
What is it? What's wrong?
But yeah, this is a very interesting direction that they've chosen to go in with Rand's head-to-head battle here at the Eye of the World, where we see he's kind of been put in this illusionary world created by Ishamael,
Rand,
but he knows
How long have we lived?
something's up. Some ain't
since
quite
we got back from the Eye.
Since we got back from the Eye.
What's wrong with
I
you?
thought you wanted to go to the White Tower to
No,
be.
this is where I want to be. You all right?
But before we left, we carved something into that tree. Do you remember what it was?
Our place. For this life. And the next. Forever.
It's you.
Pretty insidious there,
It's
Nishi.
already you.
Of course it is.
But again, it is Rand's fantasy world, so it's, you know, a lot of it's probably just coming from his own mind. But yeah, it's pretty fucked up.
You see? It is her. Or a version of what could be her.
What do you mean?
Did no one tell you what you can do? About the power inside you? You can remake the
Tempting
world
to
in
the
your
dark
image.
side.
Make it whatever you want it to be. This, if you want. I can show you how.
Come to the dark side, we have the key.
I wonder what he'll choose. Light or dark?
You didn't think I'd come here without knowing what I was walking into, did you? We both know you can't escape this place without his help. And if he doesn't choose the light, I'll choose for him.
Glory to the builders.
What can we do?
I'd help you, brother.
Dang, that sucks. You didn't last very long.
The world. It all feels so
There was a lot
still.
of build-up to A Memory of
The truth is,
Light,
it's not.
final battle
Everything
between
that
Light
means
versus
anything
Dark. Is
will
Rand
be
gonna
gone.
completely defeat the Dark One for good? Spoilers here, and I'll leave a note to when you can jump to if you don't want spoilers for the entire series and the end of the Wheel of Time. But the last battle basically boils down to a lot of what we see here, where it's a largely internal struggle between Rand and the Dark One of, do I completely take away the Dark One, which is evil, and the choice to do evil in the world, and by killing him and getting rid of him, people can thereby only do good. And kind of like Ishamael said, it's very stale. People can't make their own choices. There's no free will anymore because you've taken away their option to choose to do good by having the option of evil. And so he ultimately decides not to defeat the Dark One entirely, but just to kind of reseal him away. He comes to understand that it's not really his duty to save the world. He just has to maintain it as it is for people to continue to be able to make the choice to say no to the Dark One and do good instead. This little scene and this ending we get here, I think, mirrors the end of the series in a lot of ways.
When I reach out to you with the One Power, Accept it.
And we also see here Egwene and Nynaeve linking using the power for the first time, which is not a concept we get into until way later in the novels. Usually, yeah, it's with someone who's trained and a full Aes Sedai. Amelisa, we saw, did not graduate to full sisterhood. She's like accepted level at best. So we have a completely untrained person who kind of not very strong or skilled in the one power, forcibly linking with other people. And the people that you link with don't really have any control over what you do with the power after that point, because you're the one leading the circle.
Hey.
Look into her eyes and empty yourself of everything. Of anger, of fear, of sadness. Turn it all into want. Want that little girl so much. She simply is. Now release everything. Everything inside you. Let the power flow through you like you're an open sieve. Don't fight it. Well, he's channeling. You don't even know what he's channeling to do. To break my chains or to strengthen them.
You don't really know either. Just saying. So yeah, an interesting choice here to give us a demonstration of Sidar and how it's used in a link between channelers.
Make her yours. She already was. She already is.
But yeah, Egwene and especially Nynaeve are very strong in the one power. So this lady's gonna be able to channel a large amount just through them. More than maybe even she herself would normally be able to handle. And as I've said before, it's also very exhilarating to channel the power. So having that much of it flow through you. But yeah, we can see the unintended side effects of that, which is she's channeling more than some of these other women can handle. And they're already getting just completely burnt out and burnt through because like their bodies just don't have the capacity to hold that much. Alright, Rand's tapping into his little man. Sa'angriel or Angriel, which like I said, was kind of changed to be more like the book accurate Eye of the World, but is also an item from the novels that Moraine does give to Rand.
That woman.
And that he uses throughout the books.
Care about being a wisdom. Being a nice guy. That's not the woman I love.
But, bro, do you even know what you're doing right now? You don't even know what you're doing. You're just like channeling at random. What are you even trying to accomplish, Rand? Yeah, look at that little smirk as Ishi faded away there.
What happened?
So yeah, I think this was all a trap and a ploy, and you guys played right into it, where it was like, whether you thought you win or lose, like even though you think Ishi lost here, he actually won, because his plan was just to draw the dragon reborn there and use enough of siding to break that seal. Like I said, Rand's decision there between like what he thinks is like the best version of reality versus letting people choose for themselves, kind of what the whole last battle with the Dark One boils down to in the end. So if you were a book reader, let me know what you think about them inserting that so early as a plot line here. Okay, future editing me popping in here really quick, because I had a bit of like an epiphany while I was editing this video, where I was kind of too wrapped up in wondering about the wider implications of where they chose to go with the finale for this season, and what it meant for the grand finale of the series as a whole. But rewatching this cold open with Luz Theron and Latra, the female Amerlin seat, I think it's to show, like especially at the end where Luz is consoling his baby and saying like, today I'm gonna make the world a safer place for you, is more meant to drive home to us viewing the show the contrast between this version of Luz Theron the dragon and Rand as the dragon, because as we see in the finale of this episode, Luz chose to go ahead and do this despite everyone telling him it was a bad idea, because he wanted to make the world a safer place for his child. And at the very end, Rand gets put up against the same decision. Do I use my power to do what I think is the best choice for everyone, or do I make a different decision? And I think this is just kind of drive home to us that this is a different person. Rand is not Luz, and that he is going to make different decisions this time around. Another very controversial moment that I'm not sure if I like here, where we see Egwene is starting to get burnt out, and Nynaeve is trying to like siphon some of that off of her, because like she has even more capacity than Egwene does. But she's starting to burn out, and we saw there it was like right on the cusp, because she's Annalise is burnt out now. She channeled way too much. It felt too good. She couldn't let go when she was supposed to, or when she should have. She took in too much, and that is a reality of what can happen to women when they try to do too much or push themselves too far. But yeah, it almost seemed like Nynaeve also got burnt out and died there. Or at least like she was coming very close to it and right on the cusp there. So they made it a little bit confusing and hard to tell if we were supposed to believe she was like fully dead.
All 5 of you focal points for the wheel.
Because I have a problem with that, and with
there's only one, maybe
Egwene being able to heal her on her own with no prior training or experience.
That's what Moraine saw. What my lord saw.
Yeah, like her eye sockets aren't burned through like the other women. So I think, yeah, she's not quite dead. Maybe mostly dead, but not all dead.
To bring you to him. We need the dark. We need balance. Balance means that you will turn to the shadow, some of you.
That's not true.
Maybe all of you.
Well, I think that's maybe just to add some like mystery and some will they,
Can't
won't
go back
they.
to Faldara. Not yet.
I'm not going back. I felt it. The madness. It's true, isn't it? What they say about man who can channel. That eventually.
Yeah, come on, we need to get into that more. Give me the Luz Theron Kinslayer cold open. Because, yeah, like, why is that a known thing that everyone knows? It's because Lews Therin became Kinslayer. Like, not just men. You in your past life specifically, Rand. So, I'm kind of hoping that, like, Faraz Ishi being on that season 3 poster lurking in the background, even though he's supposed to be dead, means that either he's not, or that we're gonna get cold open from Eye of the World now. As the cold open in, like, season 3?
Today isn't the end. It's the beginning.
This was supposed to happen with Matt and not Perrin.
Thought he was defeated.
Because Matt is now kind of like head to head with Pat and Fane for who gets to have control of the dagger.
Run may be the dragon, but all 5
But
of
yeah,
them
like
have
I'm guessing Moiraine didn't just leave that behind before she left and was exiled from the tower. And that like Lan must have still been carrying it on him after they took it off of Matt. And just taking it straight here in order for Pat and Fane to get it. Because I'm guessing that's also how he was still able to like follow everybody and track them down, was sensing the dagger.
You're alive.
Also very different from the novels. Rand does not leave and go off on his own at the end like he does here.
Unmask the blonde. Let me back in.
I can't. The Dark One.
The Dark One. So yeah, even Moiraine thinks that that was the Dark One himself that they just faced.
I can't touch the source.
I get it going strong, but I don't know. I just feel like it's a stretch to say that she would be able to, like, untrained, channel Nynaeve back from the brink of death like this. It's just kind of a reach for me. I know this is a fantasy series, but just kind of, yeah, knowing how I know things work in the context of the novels, it's just outside of my willing suspension of disbelief. And I think when they pick back up in season 2, a lot of these little plot aspects kind of get hand-waved away or glossed over and not really ever mentioned again. So... And then, yeah, we see, you know, Rand thinks he's kind of going off to do his own thing, but Moiraine is able to still, like, kind of put some little threads in place to try to lure him where she wants him to go. And that's going to be something that Rand, like I said, really comes to resent later on down the line, with people trying to tell him what to do and where to go, and how to act as the dragon.
Couldn't be scratched. That nothing, not even the one power could break it.
So did I.
What does it mean?
That this wasn't the last battle.
Oopsies.
I fear it was the first.
And now for something completely different. The far western shore. So yeah, kind of a little teaser here, setting up season 2. And a new adversary, because, you know, Rand doesn't have enough on his plate trying to unite all of the nations of Randland behind him and fight off the Dark One and avoid being captured by the Tower and gentled as a false dragon. Let's throw a whole other invading army into the mix on top of it. Why don't we? A saber-toothed tiger there. Ooh, it has 3 eyes. Is that like teasing their beasts? Because we haven't seen their beasts yet, and they have like crazy animals. And we do know from some of like what the Blues were saying in the tower, and like just what other people have been saying about like rumors of the Shanshan, was that they had like weird creatures with them. So yeah, we haven't seen them yet, but we know that they have them in the books. So hopefully we'll like actually get like some Grom and some Rockin' and toe rockin'. There we have it, guys. We did it. We made it through all of season 1 of The Wheel of Time. Some parts of that episode were definitely a little lackluster for me, and that I just kind of had some problems with as a book reader because they were just a little bit too much of a departure. But like I said, I'm just gonna cut the show a lot of slack on this one because they really had a lot working against them for these season finale episodes, and I think they really did the best they could trying to pull it all together. So while these last 2 episodes weren't really, you know, my favorite or the strongest way to end it by any means, I think we've only been building on it from here, and season 2 like far eclipsed it. And from all I'm seeing and hearing about season 3, it's just really going to outclass these first 2 seasons, and I think even these first 2 seasons can stand right up there with things like House of the Dragon, Rings of Power, and Dune Prophecy in terms of just caliber of acting, writing, set, and costume design. I mean, they're really getting the best and brightest in the field to work on this show, and all of the roles have just been casted and acted so well so far, and I can't wait to see even more characters come to the screen in season 3. So I hope that I've managed to scoop you all up aboard the hype train with me and ride it off into the sunset as we await the premiere of season 3 of The Wheel of Time, which is nigh upon us. Until then, stay classy, everybody, and thanks for joining me.